The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me just say, after View distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Woo! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by the Belly Up Sports Network of podcasts. Sit back and enjoy as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of sports, everything from the Detroit Lions to the state of Michigan sports to around the country and around the world. So what are you waiting for? Let's get out there and let's watch the latest edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, powered up by Belly Up Sports. Check out our website, bellyupsports.com, for a complete list of all of the podcasts that we have. And, of course, read the latest articles that we have. A wonderful selection of our writers covering all the sports, from NASCAR to all the major sports, soccer, you name it. Some of them that aren't really major sports for that matter. We're going to have a great show tonight. Really excited to bring in our guest here momentarily. A friend of the show. I've had him on quite a few times. He knows his baseball. He knows all the sports. And he's a Philadelphia man. And let's bring him in. Let's welcome to the show the Phil fanatic himself, Mitch Bernstein. Mitch, hey, Happy New Year. Welcome back to the show. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well, Lou. We enjoyed a very nice day here in North Carolina.
Nice.
77 degrees today.
Well, I got to tell you, just so you're forewarned, we're having an ice storm right now here in Grand Ledge. If I lose you, it's because the power went out. It's going out just south of us, and we don't get those very often around here, Mitch. We usually get a lot of snow or just rain. Never get ice storms. So if it happens, it's not because I got mad at you. Just remember that, okay?
I'll keep that in mind, and I kind of knew that already.
All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about, as I mentioned, Mitch. I don't want to start out on a sour note, but let's get the bad part out of the way. Real quick, a look at Super Bowl 57. It was a great game. I know it wasn't great on your end with the loss, the way it happened, but, Philadelphia had a great year. And I've told you this before. I think Jalen Hurts is I've always been a big fan of his ever since he played at Alabama. Just a tough loss, but a good game.
It was a really good game. And I thought about it today coming on, how a year and a half ago, or maybe even a year ago, all of the Negadelphians were wanted to make sure that Jalen was the guy. They weren't sure he was. Mm-hmm. And I think we spoke during the season, and it's like, this kid did what he had to do, right? And he even performed in the biggest game of his life. Yeah. There's no fault in Jalen Hurts. I mean, absolutely none. The fault was on the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, who many people on Philadelphia Twitter were happy he didn't take the ride back to Philadelphia and he stayed in Arizona. To me, there is no excuse. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this team.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest issue is the guy doesn't blitz. And you have to put pressure on Mahomes. And even the front four didn't show up. So it was, I don't know, what did they party too much? Were they taking it for granted they would get to him? The field was bad. We knew that. We know that. Still no excuse for not putting any pressure on him.
Well, do you think he might have got a little false sense of security from not really playing against a quarterback that really did a lot, in the last, certainly in the playoffs before Mahomes, or even maybe in the last few games of the regular season? Do you think he got a little complacent?
If he did, shame on him.
Yeah.
Because Patrick Mahomes, for crying out loud.
Yeah, right.
You know what you have to do? If you do it to anybody in the league, you put pressure on them. You force them to throw when they don't want to throw. Turnovers happen. They didn't get to it once.
It's crazy, and
it was bad.
Yeah. So now you guys both you're going to have new coordinators now, both offensively and defensively. It's going to be an interesting look for the Eagles coming up later on in August when training camp comes out. I know, that's a ways down the road, but going to be some question marks. It was a great ride this year. I think you guys can keep it up.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a doubt that they can keep it up.
Yeah.
What do they do with Miles Sanders? What do they do with Boston Scott? Listen, we're a Boston Scott. We love Boston Scott.
Yeah.
And I think I told you this too. We call him Sparky. He's really good. He hits the hole quick. He's got unbelievable moves. You saw him. They showed a couple of plays where he really juked the defensive players. Not many guys can do that.
Right.
The way he does it. You've got the receivers back. Kelsey's going to come back, I think, and so is Brandon Graham. People will slam me for this, but Mr. Big Play Slay, overrated, totally overrated. He shows up and then he doesn't show up, and
that's a great point.
He's too cocky. He thinks he's over. He thinks he's great, and I think his cockiness gets him in trouble.
Very inconsistent. When he played with Detroit, Mitch, he had some really good games, some great games. But boy, he was like Casper the Ghost in other ones, boy. And you're exactly right. That's a great point. He's very inconsistent, and I really do like the core of your team coming back. Obviously, the big question now is, when are you going to extend Jalen Hurts? The typical stuff that goes on with a quarterback.
Yeah. They're gonna listen. In the past, Howie Roseman hasn't been a good drafter.
Yeah.
He did a good job this last year. And his strength is moving money around to stay under the cap. So they will figure something out, without a doubt, to keep him long term, to keep those receivers. If they need to move some things around in other places that aren't as important, he will do that. But you got a great core. You really have a great core, offensive players, defensive players. And again, you will see what happens with the contracts, and he'll move on from there. But he is kind of a magician with contracts and getting these guys to come out and play for them.
And I still think, I know you guys had a couple other teams in the playoffs this year, but New York, they were fortunate enough to play a fraud team in Minnesota that you talk about no defense, man. And Dallas, they always choke in the playoffs. And of course, Washington, I think, is a train wreck right now, but that's just me. So, and I'm not taking anything away from Philadelphia. I think you guys are in a good position there. So we'll talk more about that with you in the summer, but the main reason I want to have you on tonight is talk some baseball because, let me get the right graphic on there. Spring training is here.
Yes.
Everybody has a chance to win the World Series as of February 22nd. And, especially your World Series team, the Phillies. What a ride last year, man. It was so fun to watch.
It was, and the funny thing is, especially in sports, the unexpected when you don't expect it to happen. And they showed you there is, I do believe, and we've heard opposing players say it, man, that crowd there, they were intimidated. absolutely intimidated. And it was just an amazing, like you said, an amazing ride. Houston, no doubt, the better team.
Yeah.
But to watch and to listen to that ballpark go nuts. Bryson Stott today, there was an article that put out. He watched all the postseason games, and the reporter said, "Yeah, which games did you watch?" He goes, "All of them." And how many did you watch? Oh, I watched all of them. No, but how many games? How many? I watched each game to its entirety. Wow. And then when he got to the World Series and they lost, he had a hard time watching it. It's a huge motivator for them. This team, listen, again, they picked up a decent crop of players. You have to think that their coaches, their pitching coach and their hitting coach, know what they've got in these players now.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at the roster, and Suarez was a huge surprise. I didn't think he was going to be able to do what he did this year.
Yeah.
And he was the man of the playoffs too, right? In the postseason.
Yeah.
And then you add between Nolan Wheeler and Suarez, then you add Taijuan Walker, and then you have Bailey Falter, who, he's okay. Christopher Sanchez, don't know. I want the Phillies this year. They've never done this, or rarely have done this. Take Andrew Painter. If he's good in spring training, give the kid a freaking chance.
Yeah.
Get him out there. Phillies rarely do that with the young guys. They put him down in the minor league early. I don't think they need to do that. He's number one prospect. Get him in the lineup like the Braves did with Stricker last year.
Yes.
Oh my God, get him out there. That's a nice rotation right there.
Well, Mitch, it's funny. I was reading The Athletic last week, and they tabbed the Phillies as the most improved team in Major League Baseball. And it's funny because you got a team that went to the World Series, and they're tabbed as coming in the most improved with an over-under, which we'll talk a little later on, 88.5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can you not be excited there in Philadelphia?
Yeah. Here's the elephant in the room. I mean, listen, look, we'll go through real quickly the bullpen.
Yeah.
You got Dominguez, Alvarado, you got Kimbrel, you got Brogdon, who came on really well last year. Nick Nelson, but you picked up Matt Strom and Greg Soto.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
No.
The only elephant in the room is Nick Castellanos. He needs to. Now, he said, I read an article yesterday, he knows. We all know he was not comfortable last year, but
Right.
he, I guess, refused either to believe it and went game to game. But, baseball, Lou, is a mental game, especially when you get up to the plate.
Boy, I'm really glad you brought up Nick Castellanos. That guy's been an enigma to me ever since he was in Detroit. It seems like when he was in Detroit, it was almost like he didn't feel like he was loved all the time. Now, I know at one time they were going to trade him when he was the hot prospect for, I think, Gio Gonzalez at Oakland, and they put the kibosh to it. But, God, he could still give you 25 to 30 dingers, and, he can hit for average. You get about 300, and, man, if he just keeps his head in the game.
Well, and that's it. I think, again, for some reason, he's turned the corner in spring training. So he admitted he was pressing all year.
Yeah.
How he gets out of that, if as a professional, you would think he'd be able to get out of that at some point last year, but he never did. So I don't know what's going to change with him. But we all know his potential. If he can fix it with Harper out until June, probably,
right.
This team is going to score some runs.
Oh.
Bryson Stott looked at his swing last year, and he knows what he was doing. He was talking about his left hand and his hands and the movement of his hands. And he was tight. He looked tired, he said, at the end of this season. And his hands, he wasn't coming through the ball. So he's seen that, and he knows it. So these young players, these kids and these veterans, and they had fun last year. And I'm looking at spring training videos today. Schwarber hit a bomb off a fastball, and Schwarber went crazy, right? He's looking at it, going over the fence, and Painter's like this. He knows he took his hat off. He caught the ball in his glove, walked off the mound, did a circle. Schwarber's like, so that's good for Painter to see that. Okay, maybe I don't know what he was throwing speed-wise, but he's in the big leagues. He knows what he's got to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So February 25th, if I looked at it right, is your first preseason game. And of course you get the evil empire, you get the Yankees. That's the official start of spring training for me right there, Mitch. And, that just means that spring is right around the corner. I love this time of year. The enthusiasm for baseball, I'm never going to lose it. Now, talk to me in July if the Tigers are 30 games out, which could be a possibility. They're trying to warn us here in Motown that, they're starting all over again. But
no.
I think this, I don't know why, just to talk about the Tigers for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know why this has a little bit of feeling of 2006. Now, I'm not saying the Tigers are going to go to the World Series, but, I got a feeling they may be a little more relevant this year. Some of these rookies and the young folks are going to start to, mean something. They're going to start to gel a little bit, except for Casey Mize, because now he's out probably till June.
What happened to Casey?
Well, they put him on the 60-day DL. I didn't know he had back surgery along with his Tommy John or whatever it was he had. So, yeah, that's another one. I mean, it's sad to see that because, he had all the hype. It's still there, but, and then this is our last year for Miggy.
Yeah.
40 years old. It seems like that career went quick.
It did. He, you know what? The epitome of a veteran who has fun playing baseball.
Yep.
Right?
Uh-huh.
He loves dogging people when he gets on first base. He's smiling all the time, playing with the catchers. That's what we see that. We need to see more of that as fans, I think. Right. I don't want players to be mic'd up, right? We don't want that. They can do that the All-Star game and whatever.
Right. Agreed.
That's a whole other issue with the Ken Rosenthal's in the dugout of the World Series after Bryce Harper hits home run. Get out of there.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's enough.
Yeah.
I'm going down there. I need to tell you. I am going down there.
Wow.
I'll be at the Phillies games on Tuesday, March 7th, and Thursday, March the 9th.
Oh, wow. I'm envious. I'm doing my annual March pilgrimage for the American Collegiate Hockey Association Nationals, but they're in Boston this year, so I'll be up there in the middle of March. But
nothing wrong with being in Boston.
No, not at all. I don't know how much of it I'll see, but
you're busy.
Yeah.
How many games do you do, Lou? Lou, how many games do you do?
4 games a day
for
3 days, and then 2 on the 4th day and then 1 on the 5th day. So I might sneak out, try to get down, do a little sightseeing on the 4th and 5th day, weather permitting and whatnot, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing that. That's, to me, it's not work.
I want to ask you, because you're doing my fantasy job of play-by-play, right?
Yeah.
How, in this situation, how much studying do you need to do, or do you do, with all those teams coming in and needing to know the names of the players, right?
Yeah, I've got a list of the games that I'm doing, but I won't know the games probably until the end of next week. And it's funny, Mitch, this will be the 8th year that I've done this format of all these games. The first year I had a book about, let's see if I can show you, about that thick.
Yeah.
And I used maybe about that much of it. So you look at I'm very lucky that I can look at a roster and do this with the players in the warm-ups, and I can get an idea.
Nice.
And you pick up bits and pieces, but a lot of it goes to talking to the coaches. And with this other podcast that I do, I've gotten to know a lot of the coaches in the ACHA over the years. Mm-hmm. And so they'll come up and they'll tell me a couple of guys, some unique stories. But it's just, you feed on that. And that's what I really enjoy, And
yeah, hockey, I mean, hockey it's got to be the hardest play-by-play job because, especially going into what you're doing. Basketball, it slows down a little bit. There's 5 guys on the court at a time. You get your little printout of
Yep.
who's playing, right? Baseball's easy.
I got to tell you, baseball sometimes can be the hardest, and only because if you're doing a game that's a blowout.
Yeah.
Say it's like 9-1 or whatever, 10-0, and I've done those. You run out of things to talk about in between,
Right.
and it can drag. It can drag. You know?
But that's amazing, Lou, that you can do that with hockey because it's
fun.
You got to love it, right? You must.
I do.
Love it. You've been there for 8 years. Good for you.
Yeah, I love it. Speaking of somebody turning 40, I saw something on today when I was reading. I don't know if it was ESPN or MLB. Alan Trammell's 65 this year, and he's still going to spring training. And obviously, he was one of my idols in the 70s when he came up with Lou Whitaker and Morris and all that. Boy, oh boy, it's just some of the guys that we follow. But speaking of that, I want to bring this up before we get to the rules. We lost a good guy in baseball, Tim McCarver. I can remember him playing in the 70s. I don't remember the 68 World Series. That was just a little before my time. And I know he was playing for your hated enemy at that time. But boy, I loved listening to him do the broadcast, or watching him, I should say. And
yes,
I think he was the epitome of a very good, good color analyst. I know he did a little play-by-play, but I was sad to hear the news that he passed away.
Yeah, it's for us old heads. It's been a tough 3 years. Pandemic. We lost so many Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
And since then, I hear of it and I go, oh, it's depressing. We watch these guys play. We listen to him. He had so much fun in the booth. And that was the other thing he was able to get across, was that he was just having a blast. He knew the game as a catcher, and a lot of these analysts as catchers know what they're talking about.
Oh, sure.
Great rapport with the play-by-play guys, and would always have something intelligent to say about the pitching, the defense, whatever was there in front of him. He would always say it. He had that high-pitched laugh when he would be working with his co-announcers.
Yeah.
And he was a great player. Again, I don't, at this point, I don't remember him playing games specifically, but we just know that they were great. We got to see them and knew how great they were at the time. And like I've told you before, when we watched NBC Game of the Week on Saturdays, it didn't matter what team was on. Could have been the Cardinals. Then you had Bob Gibson, you had McCarver, you had all these players. Ozzy. It didn't make a difference. I didn't care if my team wasn't on. Every team had a Hall of Famer, at least one.
Yeah,
he was one of them.
Now, did he was on that 80 team that won, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I've come around on Joe Buck as an announcer. I didn't like him when he first started, but I really believe that Tim McCarver made him a much better play-by-play man in baseball.
Yeah, I think didn't Joe say that in an article I read?
And I 100% agree with him. And I kind of miss Joe Buck doing baseball. I've come around a long ways. I never liked him. He always sounded a little arrogant and condescending. I thought maybe nepotism at its best, because to me, his dad, Jack, was one of the best of all time. Him and Ernie and Vin Scully and, Kurt Gowdy, you name it. But I always love listening to McCarver. He's going to be missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. For us, like I said, we watch these guys play, and to see you get that notification on your phone, it's like another one. So it's tough. It's tough. It really is.
All right.
Makes us know that it looks at your mortality, right?
Yeah, isn't that the truth? All right, let's have a little fun with something now. See how many of these we agreed on and disagree on. let's start with these rule changes. What's your stance on the shift?
It's fine. Let it go back to where it's supposed to be.
So you're okay with them banning it?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you and I are going to disagree on that. I just think that my thing is I think some of the art of the game has been taken away, and I don't know, the guys don't learn how to hit the opposite way anymore. Will this help it? I don't know. Not a fan. I just don't like it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's so funny because it wasn't a big deal when people started to do it right years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the what was the if you will modus operandi behind it, right? Why did they do? Well, they were trying to. They knew the guy was going to pull.
Yeah.
I think it's. I think it might be a reaction to the number of strikeouts that have blown up over the past 3 or 4 or 5 years, to allow the players to the pull hitters are going to take advantage of it for sure.
Right.
So I think it's fine. I mean, again, yeah, you could go lots of ways with it, right? You could say,
that's the thing.
You can only shift in the odd innings, or you can only shift once an inning, right? You could have done that, but.
Well, it's funny is I saw something on it. I think it was today I was reading where the fielders cannot make a running start to go to a different, like for example, like once the pitcher's in the set position or when he's about to throw, the fielders can't run over to left field for the right hand or for the left hand, whatever. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They got to stay there. And that's going to be fun to watch on that. But I get your point. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm starting to lean a little bit more and you're kind of helping me with that. But now, what do you think of the pitch clock?
Hate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hate it. And I'm going to say this as one who has watched this game for 50 some odd years, right? Don't put a time on anything in baseball.
Yeah.
There is a method to the madness, if in fact, and I don't know how you do this with the guys who take that long at time, how you could punish those stepping off, and I don't know how you do that, but most of the guys have a rhythm. The players are ready. They know when to go. Now you got the umpires having to deal with looking at the pitch clock. The pitchers are going to be seeing the pitch clock, right? It's going to be behind the catcher, right? Yeah. And you get all this other crap going on, and then you're going to talk about throwing over to first base. I love the way baseball is. Let the pitcher throw over. The people like this is Bank Park. Phillies fans, they boo when they throw over. I listen to this a lot during the season. Not every team, not every field fans do this. Stop booing. It's part of the game. Yeah. And this is the problem I have, Lou, within this generation watching baseball. I wanted you and I should do a poll when I start my show. How many people actually go to the games to watch the game and not as a social event?
Right.
The people that go as a social event are not watching the game.
No,
they could give a crap about these rules. Yeah. And those are the teams people who are watching baseball don't want baseball to be screwed around with the pitch clock. I can guarantee that.
Okay, I need your help on this rule that I was reading on today. What the holy hell is explain to me the disengagement pickoff rule? Do you know it? I read it and I think I know it. Now, is it where, like, if I'm in the stretch and you're on first, if I can only step off the rubber twice, or do I only get 2 throws over there?
I think it's 2 throws over.
And if you do it the third time, it's a balk.
Yeah, and they're reinforcing the balk rules now.
What the hell?
The guys, listen. I don't know. I don't know if they understand it, but they want to. for the guys that do, and there's only a few that that do that rocking motion and whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that messes up a hitter's timing. But it's up to the hitter to adapt.
Yeah.
Right. Back in the day, Satchel with the windup, you kind of knew when it was coming, but still, you're having to watch the arm go like this.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. Haven't thought about that one enough, and how it will affect.
I just saw it today. I just saw it today, and I'm like, what? I guess I can see that, but it's just I don't know.
Speeding. They want us, Lou. They want to speed up the game. I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to speed up the game. Leave the game alone. I don't care if I'm there for 2.5, 3 hours.
Right.
So what?
Yeah. I
it's
wish
all about this. It's all about this generation of I want instant gratification.
Yes.
Not baseball wasn't made like that.
No, you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean,
I
want to see the hit and run. I want to see stolen bases.
Yes.
I want to see bunts once in a while. I mean, make these guys earn it. That's why I am so disappointed that they kept the runner on second in the 10th inning.
I thought they were going away with that, Lou.
I did too. I mean, what is slow pitch softball again? What the hell,
Little league. I don't get it. Now, the other thing is, I've also read that the players don't mind it.
Really?
Yes. They actually, I think I've read that they like it. So when I go to spring training, I'm going to try and however I can, see if I can, I've been in touch with Bryson Stott's mom. I had her on the show.
Yeah.
We tweet back and forth. I'm going to see if I can somehow find a player or two and just ask him, what do you guys think? And ask him, see what they say.
That's a great idea. I'm going to get a hold of, I know a couple of the play-by-play guys for the minor leagues up here. I'll ask them what they think and if they have talked to the players. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. I mean,
people will say it's fair because both teams get to do it, but let them earn it.
Right. Why don't they just start with one ball and one strike while they're at it?
Something. Softball rules, right? Exactly. Right. Want to speed up the game. Somebody said, I think I told you, somebody on my show, I forget who it was. They said, play the game like to the 11th inning. Yeah. If nobody scores then you can put the guy on second base.
I can live with that. I mean, it's
at that point, they're not scoring. You got these relievers coming in, throwing 100, striking guys out, weak contact, whatever. I get that. 0-0-0-0, whatever happened. So let them do it for 3 innings.
Yeah.
Fun part. Yeah. And then it becomes more dramatic because now in the 12th inning, they're putting on the guy at second base.
Well,
that's
to me,
more fun to me than just throwing it out there.
To me, putting a runner on second is like the shootout in hockey.
Yes. I hate that. What do you think of shootout?
I'd rather have a tie in hockey than a shootout.
So would I.
The
whole thing for me,
10 minutes.
And you're a hockey guy for sure. When they instituted the shootout, I'm like, is this really fair? They play 60 minutes, busting their butts. And if one guy on your team can't score a goal, the team loses. It's a team game. It's not an individual game. End in a tie. Go back to the 1 point for a tie.
It's funny you bring that up because the league that I do the play-by-play for in regular season, they do the shootout. And to a man, I've talked to 4 of the 7 coaches and they hate it. And I'm like, well, if you guys hate it so much, why is the rule in? Why don't you just play to a tie? But that's a subject for another day. I think the only rule that, one of the rules I really don't have an issue with in baseball is the bigger base.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have an issue with that.
No.
If it saves on injuries, that's great.
Yes.
Yes. And
did you see the meme out there when somebody posts on Facebook with Jose Altuve?
That was great. Oh, man.
Jose Altuve, this is what the bases look like. That was great. There's a lot of funny people on Facebook and Twitter, I gotta tell you.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an entertainment. So So baseball's around the corner. Can't
Yes.
wait. Let's
I know.
talk about some over-unders before I let you go.
All right.
All right. Obviously, the first one, your Phillies are 88.5. I love the over on that. And I'm
I was
not
gonna
saying
go
that
over.
because you're on the show. I see 91, 92 wins at least for the Phillies.
I was saying the same thing. I was at 92.
Yeah, I like it. Some of the other ones that I brought up, and I'm going to go, and you might think I'm crazy on this one, but I'm going to put a little bit of my hard-earned money on the Red Sox. I think they're going to be better than 77.5 wins. You think I'm crazy?
Well, if they get the pitching, I mean, Sal's back, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And they signed.
Sale's about as dependable as my putting. So
I know. But listen, if he's there, they could start 20 games. That's good, right?
Right.
And they signed Xander, right?
Yes.
I mean, they got a little bit of a core there.
Yeah.
They got a decent manager, so we'll see.
I know they're in a tough division, but that just looks awful low to me, And
I
a
think
lot
you're
of
high
these
on the
other
Yankees.
ones, all these other ones are right around 95.5. And I know the Mets every year they say the Mets are going to break through and win 100 games. I mean, with that pitching staff, they have no excuses. But man, I'm staying away from the Mets. The Yankees and the Dodgers. I don't know if the Dodgers are going to get to 96 wins.
No, I don't know either. I don't think the Yankees are going to get to 94.
I don't either.
What about the Braves?
Oh, you know what? Let me look it up real quick. I'll get on my phone.
I mean, that's a scary team. I mean, how about that Michael Harris kid?
Yeah, the Braves are 94.5.
Yeah. I mean, I might even go a little bit over on them too. I mean, Michael Harris, Acuna back for a full season. Talk about scary.
Yeah, and I mean,
and the good thing is, Lou, so the schedules have changed.
Yeah,
there aren't as many intradivisional games.
Oh, that's right.
Philly helps the Phillies a lot.
There you go. And here's an interesting one right here. There's one on DraftKings that over under any team winning over 105.5. Do you think any team in the league is going to get to 106? Over is even money, plus 100. Under is minus 125, which means, you bet 100. You'd have to bet 125 to win 100. Man, that's a tough number.
That's a tough one. Yeah. I wouldn't take that bet now for anybody.
No, me either.
106?
Yeah. I mean, the Dodgers I don't think they're as good. They've lost a lot of people, and you got San Diego might finally do something where they're, they can put a little heat on them, but
maybe.
And I think in the American League East, all those teams are going to beat on each other. I mean, they'll get around 90 to 94. And in your division, same thing.
Yeah.
I
don't think the Phillies will. Again, I think the Mets and the Braves. I would go Braves and Mets at this stage of the game, just because even though the Phillies got to the World Series, obviously, I just think that those teams are just a teeny bit better, just a bit better than the Phillies right now in terms of defense for sure and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, it could be close. The Braves scare me, but then again, it helps the Phillies because they don't play them 19 times. They're playing them like, I don't know, what is it, 10 or 12?
I think so. Yeah.
It's nice.
So you bringing the show back this year?
Yeah, I'm trying to start next with a show next week. But I'm going to be working with another venue, so to speak.
Oh, good.
And he hasn't sent me the StreamYard information yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'm focusing in on baseball book authors.
Oh, nice.
Sports artists, and then of course the Phillies. And
there you go.
Yeah, so there's a lot of artists out there that I love their work. I want to promote them a little bit, show people what they've done. Some of this stuff is so amazing. Authors, there's so many out there, so many books. Hey, guess who I talked to? Guess who I found him on Twitter, and I asked him a question, and he responded. And I asked him if he'd come on the show. He said, "Sounds good." I gave him a little detail about the show, And then he followed me, Mr. Rob Dibble.
Oh, wow. Good for you, man. Yeah. The Wild thing. He's, yeah, that'll be a fun interview.
Yeah, because so I found him because he was on a podcast and he was just talking about these rules changes and he hates them. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh my God, you guys will have a hoot. That's great. Mitch, hey, God, the time flies. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy spring training down there.
Will do.
And would love to have you on again right about when the season starts, if you can squeeze it in. And we'll get our official. We'll do it right before the start of the season, and we'll get our official predictions in. How's that?
All right, sounds good.
All right. Well, enjoy. Again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
We'll talk to you in about a month. How's that sound?
Perfect. Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Mitch. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lou.
You bet. Mitch Bernstein from the Burn with Mitch show. He's going to be back. We'll give you all the details on his show when he comes up a little bit later on towards the end of spring training. A wealth of information, that being Mitch Bernstein. He's talks to a lot of great authors, like he said, artists. One of the things that he's done a lot with on his show over the years too is given a lot of publicity to the Negro League museums and talking to old players, family members of old players and whatnot. And they're very, very interesting interviews. He's done a lot with baseball and he's such a wealth of knowledge with that. So always love having Mitch on. Great insight and a big fan of the Phillies. That's for sure. And, it's always a great time having him on. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We are powered up by Belly Up Sports. Check us out, bellyupsports.com. We've got just a great array of sports writers on the network. Also, check out our lineup of podcasts, audio and video. And again, it's very blessed to be a part of the Belly Up Sports Network, and with them letting us be, a part of their network, as I mentioned, and getting the opportunity to come to you via Belly Up Sports. So again, we want to thank them. So we'll have another show again next week. As I mentioned yesterday on my podcast, the ACHA Power Play. The ACHA National Tournament starts in 3 weeks. 3 weeks from tomorrow is puck drop. And we want to let you know again that each night we will be doing a recap show right here on Captain Lou Sports Network, the ACHA Tonight. We're going to be live there from Boston. We will be a part of the national broadcast, the national tournament. We will have a recap of all the games, all the scores, interviews, you name it. It'll be right here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And also will be on the ACHAhockey.org website. So really excited about that. We got a lot going on. Speaking of hockey, real quick, we got a few minutes left of the show here. How about our Red Wings? 9 wins out of the last 13, 6 out of the last 7. They had a very, very successful road trip. 4 out of 5 going out west, beating Edmonton, beating Calgary, beating Vancouver. Last night, going cross country, beating Washington. I know they didn't have Ovechkin. He's back now, but wow. If you would have told me on January 1st, Detroit would be in a very, very good position to possibly get one of those wild card spots, they're there. And, now the question is going to be, what do they do at the trade deadline? Are they going to stand pat? Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? Because if you look at the standings, I'm going to just take a quick peek while we talk about it. I won't bring it up on the site, but you take a look at the standings right now. The Red Wings are 2 points out of the first 3 points out of the first wild card position behind the New York Islanders. But the key to this is they've got 4 games in hand on them. So let's just say they win 3 of those games, they would get that spot. They win 2 of those games, they would get that spot. The second wild card spot is held by the Florida Panthers. They're 2 points ahead of Detroit. Detroit's got 4 games in hand on them as well. So Detroit's sitting in a pretty good spot. Now, I know Buffalo is right behind them. They've got a game in hand on Detroit, and they're sitting 2 points behind. Ottawa's 4 points behind. And you look in the other division, Pittsburgh is 1 point ahead of Detroit, and they're even on games played. But Detroit's got 3 games in hand on Washington, and they're 2 points ahead, or they're even with them. So this is a spot that I didn't know the Red Wings would be in, but they are. And it's going to be fun to watch down the stretch. They got a huge game tomorrow night at home against the Rangers. The Blue Shirts, they're at 75 points right now. They're playing well. Detroit's not going to catch Boston, obviously. 43, 8-5, 91 points. They're going for the record for the most points in a season. They got a pretty good shot at doing that. Maple Leafs and the Lightning are ahead of Detroit. I don't think they're going to catch them. But, hey, if they can keep the momentum going, I want them to get in the playoffs. I'm tired of playing for draft picks and draft lottery and all that. You know, you get in the playoffs, you get a hot goaltender. You never know. You might sneak a couple of series in. Husso's playing well for Detroit. Now, I know may not be at the level of Boston or Carolina or Toronto. The Devils are playing, to me, they've had a hell of a year. They started out so hot. They got beat last night by the Canadiens, but, you know, it may just be a hiccup. And you look at the West, you got Dallas on top in that division. I didn't see that happening. I thought Colorado would run away with that. There's still plenty of time left. They got 27 games. Detroit's got 26 games. Vegas on top again. The Kings playing well. The Kraken. Who would have thought the Kraken would be doing good? We're going to talk more hockey throughout the rest of the year because, again, we're about 2 months away from the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's the best playoff format there is in all the major sports, my opinion. So, yeah, it's going to be fun keeping an eye on the Red Wings. Now it's going to be the start of they're going to start talking about trade deadline. That's coming up here, I believe, in 9 days. So we'll keep an eye on that. If something breaks before next week, we'll make sure to talk about it here on the show as well. So, again, we want to thank Mitch Bernstein, the Burn with Mitch host, the Phil Fanatic, for coming on. And again, any comments you have on the show, please feel free to let me know. Send me an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com, or follow me on Twitter @RealCaptainLou. Follow me on Facebook, Lewis Gambling as well, and also our Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. So it's been a fun show tonight. We want to talk about something, serious. Last week we were off, had a little family emergency, had to be away out of town for a week. Everybody's doing good. Father had some hospitalization, but he's doing really, really well. So thank goodness for that. But here, something happened close to home. I know if you have seen it if you don't live in Michigan, if you do, you know what happened at Michigan State University 9 days ago with the tragic events with the shooting and the fatalities. And, it's senseless. And it hits, this is something that hit close to home. I've got nieces that go to school there and friends that have kids there. And, I go by there 100 times a year. It's 15, 20 minutes away from where I live. We kid a lot about the rivalry between Michigan and Michigan State. We like to banter back and forth. There's been a lot of goofy things done between the two teams. Most of it good, some of it not good with the tunnel and this and that. But it was very heartwarming to see last Saturday night at Michigan when they played Michigan State in that game where Michigan came out with a tribute with the alma mater and the T-shirts and all that. What a senseless act. And, before, Tom Izzo coming out and speaking to the students in the university last Thursday, if that didn't move the needle or move your heart, I don't know what will. Brought me to tears watching him, and then watching him Saturday night, during the alma mater and the playing of the national anthem. It just, you just can't take nothing for granted. And I'm not going to go political on this, but it's got to stop sometime. It really does. And it just, I don't know. It's senseless. My heart aches for the families. My heart aches for the students. That's supposed to be a sanctuary. They go there to learn, to better themselves. Now students are afraid to go to class. It's not supposed to be that way. And it hurts. It really does. and to see the community come together. Now on Sunday, they had a welcome back to the students on Michigan State's campus. And, I want to thank Meyer for what they did, everything. There was probably 30 to 40,000 people there. We were kind of helping part of it. Our family helped out. We did a stand. You're just letting the kids paint rocks, paint nice messages on the rocks, and stay strong, Spartan strong. It was heartwarming. And then I know it was about 2:30 in the afternoon, maybe 2 o'clock. The event went from 1 to 4. Looked up in the sky, and there was an airplane. And it had a message from Ohio State saying, "We love you, Michigan State. Spartan strong. We're with you, Ohio State." Classy. And it just, it just goes to show you can have heated rivalries on the field and on the gridiron. And the alumni will banter back and forth, Walmart, Wolverine, you name it, whatever. But to see something like this bring the sports community and the college communities together for a cause like this was truly heartwarming. And here on our show, I want to thank Ohio State and Michigan for doing what they did, and everybody else that helped out with these students. They still need the help. The kids that are in the hospital still, they haven't been released yet. The 5 that were critically injured. It's going to take a while, and it's going to take a while for everybody to get over this, as it does at every university, Virginia Tech, Virginia, the elementary schools. It's getting out of hand. But, we're thinking about you. And one kind of hit close to home for me, being just right around the corner. So anyways, on that note, well, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Again, we want to thank Mitch Bernstein for coming on, the Phil Fanatic. Again, he'll have more information on his show starting back up with baseball season starting in less than a month. We want to thank you, the viewer, too, for taking time out to watch us. As always, if it's not for you, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you from the bottom of our heart. Well, that's going to do it tonight. Until next week, we will have 2 shows again next week. On Tuesday night, we will have the ACHA Power Play at 7. And then Wednesday night, 7:30 next week, we will have another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. So make sure you join that. All right. Just a reminder, keep your heads up, keep your feet moving, keep your sticks down. And as always, keep your minds and your hearts wide open. This is Captain Lou saying so long until next week. Thanks for joining us on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.